Hi guys, it's Miss Holly. Welcome to 1930s Storytime, where we are just going to read books only that were published in the 1930s. We have my little teddy bear friend here. He's going to get us started with a little teddy bear rhyme. Teddy bear, turn around. Teddy bear, touch the ground. Teddy bear, reach up high. Teddy bear, touch the sky. Teddy bear, find your nose. There we go. Teddy bear, find your toes. Needs a little help. Teddy bear, touch your knees. Teddy bear, sit down, please. The first book we're going to read is called The Story of Ferdinand, and that's by Munro Leaf, and it was illustrated by Robert Lawson. And some of you might be a little familiar with this story because there's actually a cartoon movie about Ferdinand, but this is the original book from 1936. Once upon a time in Spain, there was a little bull, and his name was Ferdinand. All the other little bulls he lived with would run and jump and butt their heads together. Oh, there's a ripped page in my library book, but not Ferdinand. He just liked to sit quietly, smell the flowers. He had a favorite spot out in the pasture under a cork tree. It was his favorite tree, and he would sit in its shade all day and smell the flowers. Sometimes his mother, who was a cow, would worry about him. She was afraid he would be lonesome all by himself. Why don't you run and play with the other little bulls and skip and butt your head, she would say, but Ferdinand would shake his head. I like it better here where I can just sit quietly and smell the flowers. His mother saw that he was not lonesome, and because she was an understanding mother, even though she was a cow, she just let him sit there and be happy. As the years went by, Ferdinand grew and grew until he was very big and strong. All the other bulls who had grown up with him in the same pasture, they would fight each other all day. They would butt each other and stick each other with their horns. What they really wanted most of all, though, was to be picked to fight in the bullfights in Madrid. But not Ferdinand. He still liked to just sit quietly under the cork tree, smell the flowers. One day, 5 men came in very funny hats to pick the biggest, fastest, roughest bull to fight in the bullfights in Madrid. All the other bulls ran around snorting and butting, leaping and jumping, so the men would think that they were very, very strong and fierce and pick them. Ferdinand knew that they wouldn't pick him. He didn't care, so he went out to his favorite cork tree to sit down. He didn't look where he was sitting, and instead of sitting on the nice, cool grass, he sat on a bumblebee. Well, if you were a bumblebee and a bull sat on you, what would you do? You would sting him, and that is just what the bee did to Ferdinand. Wow, did it hurt! Ferdinand jumped up with a snort. He ran around puffing and snorting and butting and pawing the ground as if he were crazy. The 5 men saw him, and they all shouted with joy. Here was the largest and fiercest bull of all, just the one for the bullfights in Madrid. So they took him away for the bullfight day in a cart. What a day it was. Flags were flying, bands were playing. And all the lovely ladies had flowers in their hair. They had a parade into the bull ring. First came the banderillos with long, sharp pins with ribbons on them to stick in the bull and make him mad. Next came the picadores, who rode skinny horses, and they had long spears to stick into the bull and make him madder. Oh my gosh. Then came the matador, the proudest of them all. He thought he was very handsome and bowed to the ladies. He had a red cape and a sword and was supposed to stick the bull last of all. Then came the bull, and you know who that was, don't you? It was Ferdinand. Look at him. They called him Ferdinand the Fierce. And all the banderillos were afraid of him, and the picadores were afraid of him, and the matador was scared stiff. Ferdinand ran to the middle of the ring, and everyone shouted and clapped because they thought he was going to fight fiercely and butt and snort and stick his horns round. Oh. Don't want to put my finger over Ferdinand. He's right down there. But not Ferdinand. When he got to the middle of the ring, he saw the flowers and all the lovely ladies' hair, and he just sat down quietly and smelled. He wouldn't fight and be fierce no matter what they did. He just sat and smelled. And the banderillos were mad, and the picadores were madder, and the matador was so mad he cried because he couldn't show off his cape and sword. So they had to take Ferdinand home. And for all I know, he's still sitting there under his favorite cork tree, smelling the flowers just quietly. He's very happy. And that is the end of the story of Ferdinand. All right, so next we are going to kind of sing a song, kind of do a rhyme. It is Animal Crackers in My Soup, and that is originally performed in the 1930s by Miss Shirley Temple. You may have heard of her. She's one of probably the first child movie star in all of American history, Miss Shirley Temple. So let's get started. I'm just going to do a little bit, but if you want to look up the song, the whole song, it's really long. You have the whole internet to do that. So let's get started. Animal crackers in my soup, monkeys and rabbits loop the loop. Gosh, oh gee, but I have fun swallowing animals one by one. In every bowl of soup I see lions and tigers looking at me. I make them jump right through a hoop, these animal crackers in my soup. So that's all I'm gonna sing. It goes on for a really long song, but you should look it up because it's a pretty famous song. All right, so this next one you probably know, you might be familiar with it. There's a lot of different adaptations of Madeline since the 1930s, but it first came out in the 1930s, and I'm going to read the original Madeline story, even though I have, look how thick this book is, all of them in one book, basically. But we are going to start with Madeline, just the original. And in case you didn't see, the author is Ludwig Bemelmans. So let's go with Madeline. An old house in Paris that was covered with vines. With 12 little girls in 2 straight lines. In 2 straight lines, they broke their bread. Brushed their teeth, went to bed. They smiled at the good and frowned at the bad. And sometimes they were very sad. They left the house at 9:30 in 2 straight lines. In rain or shine. smallest one was Madeline. She was not afraid of mice. She loved winter, snow, and ice. To the tiger in the zoo, Madeline just said, "Pooh, pooh." She's not afraid of that tiger. And nobody knew so well how to frighten Miss Clavel. In the middle of the night, Miss Clavel turned on her light and said, "Something is not right." Little Madeline sat in bed and cried and cried. Her eyes were red. And soon after Dr. Cone came, he rushed out to the phone. What's going on? And he dialed Danton 1066. "Nurse," he said, "it's an appendix." Everyone had to cry. Not a single eye was dry. Madeline was in his arm in a blanket, safe and warm. In a car with a red light, they drove out into the night. Madeline woke up 2 hours later in a room with flowers. Madeline soon ate and drank. On her bed there was a crank, and a crack on the ceiling had the habit of sometimes looking like a rabbit. Outside were birds, trees, and sky, and so 10 days passed quickly by. One nice morning, Miss Clavel said, "Isn't this a fine day to visit Madeline?" Visitors from 2 to 4 read a sign outside her door, tiptoeing with solemn face, with some flowers and a vase. In they walked and then said, "Ah," when they saw the toys and candy in the dollhouse from Papa. But the biggest surprise by far on her stomach was a scar. "Goodbye," they said, "we'll come again." And the little girls left in the rain. They went home and broke their bread, brushed their teeth, went to bed. In the middle of the night, Miss Clavel, she turned on the light and said, "Something is not right," and afraid of a disaster. Miss Clavel ran fast and faster. And she said, "Please, children, do tell me what is troubling you." And all the little girls cried, "Boo-hoo, we want to have our appendixes out too." "Good night, little girls. Thank the Lord you are well. And now go to sleep," said Miss Clavel. And she turned out the light and closed the door. And that's all there is. There isn't any more. Though, if you want to check out this book, there's a lot more Madeline. All right, so this is a flannel story from a real book you might know about. It's called The Little Engine That Could. And this book also came out in the 1930s, so we're going to do the flannel version of it. So, Little Train, right here. Little Train was taking animals to the animal park, and that was going to be their new home. It was a beautiful place with lovely trees, lovely grass, flowers, everything you could want. He had such a big load for such a little train, all these cars full of animals. He was happy just chugging along and giving it all the power he could, though. Just as he was going up a hill, his engine stopped. Nothing could make it go, and there were all kinds of animals on the train. There were elephants on the train, there were giraffes on the train, bears, tigers, monkeys, penguins. Can you see the penguins? We'll put the penguins next to the giraffe. And there was even, this might surprise you, but there was even frogs on the train. You would think they'd be, they wouldn't get along, frogs, bears, penguins, giraffes, but they do. They don't quarrel. They were happy to get to their new home. But when the engine stopped, they were afraid they would never get there. And the little train here, he was sad too, because he wanted them to get to their new home. So what are they going to do? Well, it's a good thing that they have on board Bozo the clown right here. He's going to help. Don't worry, we'll get the little train going, he says. Soon, Bozo saw a shiny new engine coming along. Oh gosh, this guy. He will get us started. He has lots of power. So Bozo called out, please, shiny new engine, won't you please pull us over the mountains? The animals want to get to their new home before it gets dark. Shiny new engine said, I am a passenger engine. I pull big passenger cars and all kinds of people that ride my train. Pull a little train with animals? No, thank you. He steamed away. But Bozo was optimistic. He said, there's other engines, more trains will come. And soon a great, big, strong engine came along. Oh gosh, look at this guy. Bozo flags down the new engine and he says, please, can you help us? We need to get the train over the mountain for the animals to get to their new home before it's dark. And the big, strong engine yells, I am a freight engine. I pull big trains with large engines that print books for people to read. I am a very important engine. I can't spend my time pulling the likes of you. Steams away. The animals were sad, but Bozo said, cheer up, there's still other engines out there. And soon enough, along came a creaky old engine. Oh my gosh, what's gonna happen? Bozo flags him down. He says, please help us. We have to get this train over the mountain so the animals can go to their new home by dark. But the rusty old engine here, he said, I would like to help you, but I am so tired I can hardly go myself. I can't, he said. He chugged along saying, I can't. Bozo still wouldn't get discouraged though. He knew there was going to be more engines coming, and he was sure right. Pretty soon, a little engine came along. Oh, here he is, a little engine. So Bozo waved his flag, waved him down, and the little engine stopped. He was a very friendly engine. What can I do for you? He asked. And Bozo replied, would you please pull us over the mountain? Our engine broke down. The animals are stranded. They need to get to their new home before dark. Then the little engine said, I'm not very big, but I'd like to help you if I can. So he's going to try it out. Let's put him onto the train. Let's hook him up to this train, get everything ready to go. So little engine starts pulling. Let's get Bozo out of the way. And he's saying, I think I can do it. I think I can. He puffed and tugged and puffed and tugged. Look at him working so hard. He's sweating. Oh my gosh. The sweat was running down his face. Finally, the little train with all the animals started to move. Let's move it along so it's realistic here. All right, so the little engine, he's working really hard. The little engine, he keeps saying, and I think you know what he might be saying, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. As he puffed, and soon the train started going faster and faster, and Bozo jumped on and said, hooray! And the elephant trumpeted, and the lion roared, and the monkey squealed. All the animals were happy. They would get to their new home before dark. Little engine, he was happy too, as he puffed down the mountain saying, I thought I could, I thought I could, I thought I could. Finally, they make it down the mountain all the way to the park, and they see the ranger of the park greeting them. He is happy to see all the new animals for his park. And the moral of the story of the little engine that could is that boys and girls can do a lot of things for their mamas and daddies if they will say, I think I can, even when the task is hard. And that is the story of the little engine that could. All right, so this last book is called Angus and the Cat, and it is by Marjorie Flack. She wrote it way back in 1932. So each day, as Angus grew older, he grew longer, but not much higher. Scotty dogs just grow that way. Now, as Angus grew older and longer, he learned many things. He learned it is best to stay in one's own yard, and frogs can jump, but not to jump after them, and balloons go up. Oh no. Angus also learned not to lie on the sofa and not to take somebody else's food and things like that. There was something outdoors Angus was very curious about but had never learned about, and that was cats. The leash was too short. He can't reach. Until one day, what should Angus find indoors laying on the sofa but a strange little cat? Angus came closer. The cat sat up. Angus came closer. Up jumped the cat onto the arm of the sofa. Angus came closer and the little cat boxed Angus's ears. Woof, woof, said Angus. Up jumped the cat onto the sofa, back up to the mantel, and Angus was not high enough to reach her. But at lunchtime, she came down to try and take Angus's food, though not for long. Up she jumped onto the table, and Angus was not high enough to reach her. At nap time, she was sitting in Angus's own special square of the sunshine, washing her face, though not for long. Up she jumped onto the windowsill, and Angus was not high enough to reach her. 3 whole days, Angus was very busy chasing the cat, but she always went up out of reach, up until the 4th day he chased her all the way up the stairs. Into the bedroom, and she was completely gone. Angus looked under the bed. There was no cat there. Angus looked out of the window into his yard, into the next yard. No cat could he see anywhere. Do you guys see the cats? Angus went down the stairs. He looked on the sofa. No cat was there. He looked on the mantel. No cat was there. Angus looked on the table and on the windowsills. No cat. There's no cat indoors. There's no cat anywhere. So Angus was all alone. There was no cat to box his ears. There was no cat to take his food. There was no cat to sit on in his sunshine. There was no cat to chase away, so Angus was all alone and he had nothing to do. Angus, he missed the little cat. At lunchtime, he heard this noise, purr. And there she was again, and Angus knew that the cat knew that Angus knew that Angus was glad that the cat came back. And that is the end of Angus and the Cat. So these are some printouts from the Mother Goose Rhymes edition actually from 1930. So we don't own this book. It's really old, really fragile, but I found some printouts and I figured we'd look at the old nursery rhymes, right? So Mother Goose's Rhymes. So this one is Mary Had a Little Lamb. Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow, and everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure to go. What's next? What else do we have from the 30s? Pat a cake, baker's man. Make me a cake as fast as you can. Pat it and prick it and mark it with the T and put it in the oven for Tommy and me. Ring around the rosies, a pocket full of posies. Hush, 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 we all tumble down. I think I have one more rhyme for you. Ba, ba, black sheep, have you any wool? Yes, sir, 3 bags full. One for my master, one for my dame, but none for the little boy who cries in the lane. None for him. So those are some Mother Goose rhymes from the 1930s. So all of the books that we read in today's story time were actually published in the 1930s. That's kind of when children's book publishing was starting to blow up, and there's more and more books just for kids, because for a long time ago, they were just for adults. So what else was going on in children's publishing? Well, you may have heard of this book. It's pretty famous, The Hobbit. This came out in the 30s. For some older kids, it's a chapter book. Some other chapter books we have that we can't read in story time, but you want to know about is Mary Poppins. This is also a 1930s publication. And of course, there's a movie since then, so you might know Mary. And what else do we have? We have Mr. Popper's Penguins, another release of the 1930s. I believe there's also a movie of this, just like there's a movie of The Hobbit, Mary Poppins, probably a lot. Another book, series actually, is the Little House series by Laura Ingalls Wilder. This one's the first one, Little House in the Big Woods. And we've got the classics, the Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew. I almost dressed up as Nancy Drew for this, but couldn't find a good outfit. But these came out in the 1930s, and they're still coming out today. All right, so that is it for my 1930s story time this month, but next month in May, I will be doing a 1940s story time, and I will do my best to dress up as Rosie the Riveter for you. Bye, guys.